If you're a neurodivergent multipotentialite who felt a lot of shame because you didn't fit in as a child, this is for you. The reason you get stuck is because of your social conditioning. We were brought up in a neurotypical society where they judged us based on their own standards. So they have different ideologies, conventional wisdom, structures, etc., etc. And this is basically social conditioning. So what is social conditioning? These are the rules and regulations you've been brought up to believe are true, but they're only true because they're created by neurotypicals for other neurotypicals. They don't work for us. But nonetheless, we don't understand that. So basically, we fail to live up to neurotypical expectations, and this is our social conditioning. This is when you were told you were too lazy, or you could be anything you want to be if you only focused, etc., etc. And basically, you were told you were not good enough. Now, this is either told to you directly, or it's been implied, and this is your programming. Now, you've internalized this, and this is the acceptance of your programming, and it becomes part of your identity, so it's your ego sense of self. And your current behavior, how you behave today, is basically repeatable patterns based on your ego sense of self. Now, if you've ever seen an adult elephant tied to a tiny little rope and a wooden peg in the ground, you would wonder, why doesn't this get up and walk away? And that's because it was socially conditioned as a baby elephant. This was a thick metal chain, and this was an iron spike driven deep into the ground. Now, as a baby elephant, it pulled and pulled with all its might, and it couldn't escape. So it basically gave up and internalized this, so as an adult it doesn't try to escape. And there's a lot of parallels between this and being neurodivergents and multipotentialites in a neurotypical society, in that we've been told that we can't be successful because we need to niche down, or we're too lazy, or we're this, that, and the next thing. But none of this is true. This is only their perception of reality, not our reality. Okay, so this is a social stigma and discrimination. So we are made to feel less, there's a social narrative of being less worthy or not fitting in. And you know that as a child. You tried to fit in, and the more you tried to fit in, the more you felt left out, right? And there's a lot of negative stereotypes about being neurodivergent or multipotentialite or generalist. And that means that we adopt a low self-concept and becomes a low self-worth. And because of this, we need external validation. And this is why we become perfectionists and people pleasers, because we need external validation to make ourselves feel good enough, because we've been told that we're not good enough, okay? And this becomes internalized oppression, right? We do this to ourselves. So we adopt this as shame. I am not good enough. No, and this means that we have so low self-efficacy. In other words, we don't believe that we can be successful because we're told you have to niche down or be a specialist or an expert or whatever. And of course, if we believe this to be true, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And much like an adult elephant, we just give up. So this is something that we have to deconstruct in order to be successful, because it's just not true. Nearly every person who has changed culture or solved problems in the arts or science or in entrepreneurs is basically multipotentialites, because of our divergent thinking brains. But if we believe the self-fulfilling prophecy, or if we believe the limiting beliefs we've been told to believe, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we will never fulfill our potential, which is why we've got to break out of it, okay? So there's this stereotype threat. So we try and hide the fact that we're different, okay? And we call this masking. So we hide elements of our true self away in order to be accepted by the neurotypical society. But of course, by hiding parts of ourselves away, this reinforces our inadequacy, which reinforces the feelings of I'm not good enough, okay? And this decreases our performance, our productivity, and this means we have low self-confidence and reinforces limiting beliefs. And there's also not a lot of external pressures as well, cultural, societal, or family expectations. People expect us to go on the traditional path, or expect us to act more like neurotypicals. And this internalized ambition, we've got a lot of frustrations. Our self-esteem is based on our productivity. So if we're not being productive, we start beating ourselves up. And all this is down to our social conditioning, all right? Now, what's really important to be successful multipotentialite and neurodivergence is that we have to deconstruct the social conditioning, okay? So that means we have to stop conforming to societal expectations and live a life that's true to ourselves, based on our own strengths and core values, okay? And this is what this is all about, right? It's about becoming our true self, our true creative self, and following first of all, discovering and then following our core values. And that's so we can stop conforming to societal expectations, which is oppressing and suppressing our abilities. And this means cognitive reconditioning. This means rewiring our brain, focusing on our strengths and not our weaknesses, okay? And that means facing fears and reinventing our creative identity. Now, how do we do this? Well, I'm sure you've come across Brené Brown before, but if you haven't, she spent 20, maybe longer years researching shame, guilt, etc., right? So creative shame is I am not good enough, and this means it's innate, and this is what shame is, but this is self-oppressed, okay? This is I am not good enough. Whereas creative guilt is I don't feel good enough, and these are two very, very different things. So we think we have got the shame because we've been told for all our lives that we don't fit in, or we don't live up to neurotypical standards. So therefore we just think there's something innately wrong with us, okay? And that is the shame. But really, this is only because of the neurotypical society. And it's a bit like the Einstein's quote. I don't know if he actually said this, but it's certainly been attributed to him. And he said, everyone is a genius, but if you base a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing that it's stupid, okay? We are the fish in this situation. It's not that we're stupid, it's just that we can't climb trees, okay? So this is all about limiting beliefs. This is about shame trait. It's about who we believe we are, but that's not the reality. That's the reality based in the neurotypical societal expectations, the conventional wisdoms and their structures, but we have to deconstruct from that and live lives that are true to ourselves based on our own strengths, okay? And the reality is that we can feel guilty about not feeling good enough, but we are good enough, okay? And that means that we have to radically authentic, okay, or rebelliously authentic, radical acceptance of who we are, focus on our strengths, not our weaknesses, and then rebel against the neurotypical society in order to be, true to ourselves, based on our own core values. Stop conforming to society that rejects us. Stop basing our self-worth on neurotypical expectations, i.e. External validations, being perfectionists, people pleasers, and embrace our true creative selves. And how do we do this? Well, this is about changing our thoughts. So this is cognitive behavior therapy. You change your thoughts, that changes your feelings, and you change your feelings, change your behavior. And that is what this channel is all about. This is what all my work is about. This is what all my coaching is about. This is what all my work is in the music industry, where I spent 28 years as a multi-platinum artist manager, helping artists get over all this kind of bullshit so they can be more successful. So I hope this helps. Peace out.